So to begin with, we're going to have a opening prayer by Pastor Dallas Satterfield of the First Assembly of God in Apache Junction. Following that, I'm going to ask Supervisor Surdy if he would do our Pledge of Allegiance.
You do know me.
So please stand if those that wish to participate.
Thank you, Chairman and Board. Almighty God, we just thank you for the opportunity today to stand in front of you, the Almighty God, the King of the universe. We thank you for the opportunity, and we thank you, Lord, for your many blessings that you bestow on us, and we thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us. Again, the opportunity, Lord, to present righteousness. And we just pray with the weighted responsibilities of the board that you would give them direction and wisdom. And you tell us in your word that if anyone lacks wisdom, that they should ask. So we ask, Lord, for wisdom and direction in the decisions being made, and righteousness would prevail, and in their decisions that peace would guide their hearts also. We thank you, Lord, for this opportunity again, and as I like to pray over our congregation, I pray that you would bless their socks off and be with them in the decisions that are being made, lead them and guide them and direct them. In the powerful name of Jesus Christ, we give you thanks. And all of God's people said, amen.
Will you please join me for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Supervisor Surdy and Pastor Dallas for your thoughts and for our Pledge of Allegiance. We will now officially open our Board of Supervisor meeting dated February 21st, 2024. And first item on the agenda is call to the public. But before I call out some names, just we have the rules. Do we have the rules of engagement here? Okay. Sometimes it may feel that way. But one of the things that I'd like to ask as you come forward, that you be respectful of one another in the things that you say and the things that we listen to. Try not to take offense in any way. These are people's personal feelings that they have. And so let's be respectful the way, in my opinion, the way I have that God Almighty wants us to be. So thank you. So first,
Amen.
Yes.
I just gave you an amen.
Okay. Thank you. Call to the public. Consideration and discussion of comments from the public. Those wishing to address the Pinal County Board of Supervisors need not request permission in advance. Action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing our staff to study the matter or rescheduling the matter for further consideration and discussion at a later date. So I have two cards. I had three cards, but one of them is in regards to consent items. But the two cards that I have for call to the public is George Schroeder. And when you come up, if you just
Got it.
repeat your name and then
2444 West Virginia Street, Apache Junction, Arizona.
Thank you. And your name again?
George Schroeder.
Thank you.
I have a pseudo name if you want that one.
That'll do.
It's on my car. Anyway, I've been here before. I try not to come down here because when I come down here, I reserve this as one of the last vegetables of possibilities where we can do something about something in our county. The elections are way off base. We're going nowhere with that. We're going to see crap again. So we have one individual, our sheriff. I wrote to Mr. Surdy my intention to press charges against Mr. Lamb, for several different reasons. We won't go into them right now. But talk about a person who doesn't understand his job. Didn't do his job. He went around the country with a rubber AK-47, run around the country protecting idiot people. So that's not his job. It's just not his job. So he didn't do his job. So he's going to be going, I understand that, but he's still going to be charged for some of the stuff that he did. In Apache Junction, we have a problem with squatters. We've had it for decades. County with the state land, and we're squatting up there trying to clean it up, get them out of there. Well, we kick them out of AJ, they go there. They go there, they come back to AJ or wherever. We need the county to really make a robust presence in our city. Because our city, they don't do nuisance laws anymore. Any felonies, they send right over to here. So, what do? Nothing. Their prosecutor almost went to jail for going off on the judge, and he's still a prosecutor. So we've got people blackmailing each other to keep their jobs, and when I bring it to the public, I'm the bad guy. It's a personal attack. No, but it is really personal because they've tried to put me in jail several times over false charges. I've got them on record, and they don't care. They're going to do whatever they want to do. Well, I'm going to do what I want to do. So I've done it to the county, several people here. We will be writing them up. We will be going to the Arizona State Attorney, and we're going to get rid of some of these people. I'm having the handcuffs made up for them. We're going to get rid of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schroeder. The next one I have is John Orton.
My name is John Orton. I'm from the Eloy area, unincorporated Eloy. I've been here many a times. Some people have accused me of attacking Dana Lewis. I want to put to rest that that is not what I am doing. 8 months ago, Dana Lewis, Belinda Rodriguez, Boots Hawks, my wife, Shirley Carter, sat at our dining room table and had a conversation about deception of what happened in the 22 election. Dana Lewis assured me that she was not intentionally trying to deceive the people. I said, okay, I accept that. I want you to know that Satan is the father of lies, the great deceiver. He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And I says, as a voter, I'm going to hold you accountable in the next election. And her comment was, absolutely. I expect you to do that. That is your job. So I am basically here because Dana Lewis said, it's my job to hold her accountable. There's problems when she stands up in the ASRA meeting and says the reason our cameras won't be up to FBI standards is because there's not enough bandwidth. So she says, you don't understand, when our signature verification, 21 desktop computers are all operating, we consume more bandwidth than the entire city of Coolidge. That is such a tall tale that it's not even believable. There's no way that 21 desktop computers consume more bandwidth than the entire city of Coolidge. I don't understand why, after 2 years of bringing this forward to this board 2 years ago, I don't understand why we don't have adequate bandwidth to run our cameras so that we can watch them and that they're up to FBI standards. The other issue is what happened at 104, Precinct 104 and Precinct 11. I asked somebody to do an investigation. I mean, we all know that Abe Hamadeh lost by just a few hundred votes. And somebody in our county, it had to be somebody in our county, because the people voted there during the primary, and come general election, they were turned away. Who ordered that? Who ordered the workers in that precinct to turn those people away? And you need to get to the bottom of that, because we generated a lot of provisional ballots, and it happened in more than just that precinct 11 and 104. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orton. As far as cards are concerned, is there anybody else? That's all I have. Is there anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Come on forward to the... And just a reminder, it's not necessary to fill out that card. We like it, but...
My apologies, gentlemen. I did place a card actually with the clerk, so I'm not sure
Okay.
where it got placed in the shuffle. My name is Michelle Beck. I'm a U.S. Army combat veteran, and I'm here today to read a letter from one of my neighbors regarding a proposed subdivision in our area. So I do have a copy of that letter for you,
I
gentlemen.
can take it, Michelle. Your item is actual item number 11. We do have public hearing. Did you want to speak during public
you can
hearing?
I'll take it now.
Okay.
We'll move along, right? So, good morning. Dear members of the Pinal County Board of Supervisors, we are writing to express our strong opposition to the housing development plans for the proposed rezoning and planned area development in our area. The property is 1,408 acres located west of Amarillo Valley Road and south of Lewis Johnson Drive in Pinal County. While acknowledging the need for housing, it is crucial to prioritize the preservation of our rural way of life, the sustainability of our community, and the safety and well-being of our residents. Our home is situated at 4318 North White Road, Maricopa, Arizona, 85139. Regrettably, the proposed plans do not incorporate White Road, rendering our property inaccessible according to the outlined developments. Notably, our residence is entirely omitted from the plans despite adjacent houses planned on 3 sides of our property. Access to the property is disclosed by Survey 2020-24003, which shows a 40-foot roadway and utility easement for North White Road. Also, according to the county, White Road is a valid road under Survey 1-48, and a developer is not able to block access. Enclosed with this correspondence are additional documents pertaining to our easement to White Road. It's imperative to address this oversight, as failure to do so may result in legal ramifications should the current proposal be approved unchanged. Another significant concern regarding the proposed development is the impact on emergency response times. Our rural area already faces challenges in ensuring timely responses from fire, police, and emergency medical services due to limited resources and infrastructure. Introducing a large housing development without adequate planning for increased demand on emergency services would further strain our already stretched resources and jeopardize the safety of our residents. Yet another pressing issue is the sourcing of water to supply the proposed homes. Our county already faces water scarcity challenges, and it is unclear how the additional demand for the new housing development will be met sustainably. Without a comprehensive plan for water supply management, there is a risk of exacerbating existing water shortages and compromising the environmental integrity of our region. In light of these concerns, I urge the Board of Supervisors to reconsider the approval of the proposed housing development, rezoning, and planned area development. In addition, comprehensive measures need to be taken to address accessibility to our property, emergency response capabilities, road infrastructure, water supply management. Any development should prioritize the safety, well-being, and sustainability of our community while preserving our cherished rural way of life. And this was written by my neighbors, Daniel and Corinne Amerman. So we just have some concerns, as you will see on the paperwork, that some properties are actually losing their access with this proposed development. In addition to that, my neighbors' neighbors
We're
also...
out of time. If you could just, can you put that in an email form or something and send that to the clerk, and then she can make sure that it gets
Absolutely.
distributed to the rest of us?
Not a problem. Thank you for
Okay.
your time this morning.
No, thank you. We appreciate it. Okay, is there any others for call to the public? Would you state your name and why you're wearing that? No, I'm kidding.
Really? Good morning. My name is Rich Fidiello, Councilmember Rich Fidiello from the great city of Maricopa. I'm here today because I want to thank 3 of the supervisors, but all 5 of you I know feel the same way, but these 3 individuals took the time last week to get on the Zoom call at ADOT. Chairman Goodman, Vice Chair McClure, and Supervisor Kevin Kavanaugh. Thank you for the 3 of you getting on and talking about one of the most dangerous roads in all of Arizona. We are ranked in the top 5 of one of the, as I said, the dangerous roads. We have 50,000 people who drive out of our community every single day. I pray every day that those 50,000 get to drive back into our community to see their children, let alone the fact that it takes them roughly 2 hours to get in and out, and let alone come home another 2 hours. So I want to just thank you for what you guys do, for getting on that phone call about the 347 being in the ADOT plan. So please continue to push with us, our residents and our constituents in the city of Maricopa, to please help us get this road fixed, because I want to make sure that my grandchildren, when they drive out, they get home safe, and the rest of other people in Maricopa. Also, during my campaign for Pinal County Supervisor this year, if any one of you would like to come out and join me out on the 347 when I'm there from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m., waving to my constituents so they get to know who I am, I'm more than happy to have you come stand with me. It's a very safe area. Don't worry about it. But like I said, I just want to make sure that you guys know that I do appreciate you guys taking your time out of your day to push the 347. Thank you. God bless you. Have a good day.
You bet. Thank you, Rich. I think it was a pleasure for all 3 of us to do that. So, okay, anybody else that wishes to speak? Okay, with that, we're going to close call to the public, and we'll move on to item number 2. Brother Leo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today we have the honor of celebrating 5 long-term employees here at the county. Our first one is from adult probation. She's been here for 20 years and is currently a probation division manager. Michelle Oliveras, I believe she's here. Hi, Michelle, thank you. And I believe Saul may be here as well.
Good morning, Chairman, Board. I just thank you very much for taking this time to honor Michelle today. Michelle has been working with adult probation since 2009. During her time with our department, she has earned some well-deserved promotions. She initially started as a probation officer, soon became a senior probation officer, and then was promoted to supervisor, and then most recently in her current position as division manager. In 2021, she was elected as Supervisor of the Year. I won't go into all of her great qualities, but just a few I wanted to talk about today. Michelle is an amazing person at connecting with people, building relationships, and problem solving. So her knowledge of the court system and the ability to work with the judges, with prosecutors, with defense attorneys, with all kinds of people is a huge asset to our department and helping us resolve issues and get things done that we need to get done. And probably most importantly for me, when I get stressed out, she just makes me laugh. She's extremely funny and fun to work with, and that's a value that she has that I really respect and need. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, all.
Thank you, Saul and Michelle. Great to hear. Next, we have Jim McCormick, who is a chief investigator in our public defender's office, has been here for 25 years. I believe Jim and Kate are both here to speak.
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chairman, board members. Kate Malusi with Public Defender's Office. Thank you very much for honoring Jim McCormick today. He tolerate, call him Mac. He's been, a little background on him. He's a military veteran, and he spent 20 years in law enforcement prior to joining the Pinal County Attorney's Office as an investigator in 1999. He then was assigned as the first investigator with the Public Defender's Office. And I have had the pleasure of working with Mac on both sides of the aisle, both as a prosecutor and a defender. And over those many years, what has stood out to me is that he is a man of steadfast principles. He is always wanting to do the right thing. He honors the Constitution every day. He holds many of us accountable and has checked quite a few attorney egos along the way. This past summer, he was honored by the Arizona Public Defenders Association as the outstanding paraprofessional of the year. That is a statewide honor. He was even featured in an article about his amazing 52-year career serving the citizens of Pinal County in a local paper. I think it was the Dispatch. And he's just a grounding force for the criminal justice system. So thank you.
Thank you, Kate. No, good.
This works for you.
Very much. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Board of Supervisors.
You bet. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kate and Mac. Next, we have two employees from the Pinal County Sheriff's Office. I believe one wasn't able to be present this morning, but we want to thank and congratulate Jeffrey Love, who's been a deputy sheriff with us for 20 years. And then we have, who I believe is here with us, William Warner, who has been a detention officer for 20 years.
Yeah.
Of course, this is my beautiful, wonderful wife for the last 24, so almost 25 years now. So I started with the sheriff's office 20 years ago, and I remember we actually started the same days with Deputy Love here, so it would have been nice to see him again. But as you can see, I had a recent injury from a couple of illnesses, so I had to have part of my foot taken off. But I was still glad to be here because I just wanted to represent some of the most faithful people I've ever worked with within the adult detention center here at Pinal County. And just wanted to represent and say thank you guys.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And Celeste, those of us that are married, there's many of us men that forget our how long we've been married to our spouses as well. Yeah.
Thank you, William and Celeste. Last but not least, we have Leslie Rodriguez from the Superior Court, who has been with us for 20 years and is currently a judicial administrative specialist, and Katrina as well.
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chair, Supervisors. Katrina Solis, Court Administration. I stand here in front of you with Leslie, our wonderful judicial assistant. She has spent the majority of her 20 years of service with the clerk's office at Superior Court as a courtroom clerk, along with a slew of other duties and titles. In October of 2021, she came to court administration as a judicial assistant to our Superior Court Commissioner's Bench. She is currently working under Judge Kelly Neal, our presiding pretrial judge, and currently assigned to cover our early disposition court, and Judge Matthew Reed, who is assigned to cover our probation restoration court, fines, fees, and restitution court, and mental health and Title 36 courts. To say she is busy is an understatement. Both Judge Reed and Judge Neal have calendars this morning and were unable to be here, but they have asked me to say a few words on their behalf. We wish to congratulate Ms. Rodriguez on her 20 years of service to our county. It has been a pleasure to work with her. Ms. Rodriguez is knowledgeable, efficient, and reliable, and provides a valuable service to all of our community. She currently supports 2 Superior Court commissioners with the busiest calendars in the courthouse. Judge Reed states, I'm honestly amazed at everything she is able to accomplish on a daily basis. She is so positive to be around, even on challenging days. In fact, I do not believe I have ever seen her rattled. She regularly identifies ways to improve our processes to provide a more effective service to the community. Pinal County is lucky to have her working on its behalf. When I asked her coworkers about her, they shared, Leslie is a breath of fresh air. She is kind to everyone around her and works very hard. If you ever find yourself in need of anything, whether it be work assistance, process coverage, clarification, or even just a simple piece of chocolate, Leslie is always there without hesitation to help in any way that she can. Shelley Cook states, it has been wonderful to work side by side with her over all of these years. The bonds that she has formed with her coworkers and judges is immeasurable. Simply put, she is a wonderful person, great friend and colleague, and an amazing wife and mother. And Pinal County is better because of her. Thank you.
So, go ahead, Leo. Is that it? Okay, yeah, we would like to, if we could, we'd like to get a photo with all of you that have been honored today, if that's okay with you.
There we go. And everybody looking over here looks great. 3, 2, 1. Nice. Okay, big smiles. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. There we go.
Okay, Leo, let's go to item number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of items, and the first one I just wanted to highlight one of the messages that the Maricopa Association of Governments just gave as an update. And for those that don't know, we have 3 regional municipal planning organizations in the county that do the regional transportation planning. And you sit on the Maricopa Association of Governments Board, MAG, if you hear that acronym. And even though it's called Maricopa Association of Governments, it covers a lot of Pinal County and a significant amount of Pinal County. And as Councilman Vitiello mentioned earlier, the importance of the 347 and the coordination that it takes between ADOT and the Gila River Indian community and the municipalities in the county is really what helps make that move forward. So there's been a recent announcement that the funding has been fully secured for the I-10 widening, which was a partnership with similar entities as well as MAG. And people don't realize this as much, but the Gila River Indian community does play a critical role in these projects and is a critical point to be able to get these to move forward. So I just wanted to play this clip that we got as an update, as what we did on I-10 is a good template for what we can do in the future on the 347.
Want to congratulate all of us. Director Toth got this across the goal line with the great assistance of Governor Roe Lewis and the Gila River Indian community. We think we now have the funding for the I-10 widening to happen. Yes, so that's a big deal for all of us, particularly Southeast Valley, but really the whole state and actually the whole federal highway system of I-10.
I wanted to show that at least too, so that the public can get a visual of what the I-10 widening is. And I know you all worked very hard on this, along with our legislators, and that this is a key corridor not only for our residents to travel, but for industries and businesses. As we know, the logistics between the 10 and the 8 are crucial for some of our manufacturers and distribution centers. And then next, I just wanted to give an update. We do have another video clip, but we had a consultant look at animal care and control in our facilities, and we also had designers. And so, thankfully, now we're at the point of beginning construction of the renovation of our facility, and wanted to do a video to show how that's moving along.
Hey everybody, it's Audra, and I am the Director of Pinal County Animal Care and Control. And as you can see behind me, a huge mud pit. That's because we're under construction. Yay! We are in the process of getting a renovation. We're going to have a brand new front lobby with a cattery in the front, cat condos, indoor meet and greet areas, and if you've ever been here during the summer, that's going to be a blessing because it's so hot outside. We're going to have a real life room. We're also going to have a clinic and new office space. Hopefully it's going to be done by October of this year, grand opening, but it's been 3 years in the making and it has finally started, hit the ground running, and as you can see, we are they're rocking and rolling on this. We are currently in a double-wide modular in the back of all 3 buildings in case you want to come and see us. We're still open for adoptions and fosters and licensing, so come on down and take a peek, but we hope to see you in October.
Who doesn't love puppies? Thanks, Chairman. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Leo. Okay, item number 4, supervisor district updates regarding the notable current or upcoming events concerning their district. So let's start with, to my right, Supervisor Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today at about 1 o'clock, we're having the dedication of our building and the plaque to the Korean War veterans. Yes. And so we'll be serving some food and having a good time. And I think at the call to the public, Rich Vitiello mentioned the issues surrounding 347. And I want to thank my assistant, Josh, who has actually drove all the way down to Douglas to make sure that nothing prevented us from speaking on that issue. And while in Washington for a conference last week, I was able to visit the offices of Congress, our representatives, and leave personal notes asking for help in that regard. So that's it for mine.
Supervisor McClure. Thank you, Supervisor Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Chairman. Let's see, this evening, tomorrow evening in Salmon Well at the Community Center, we're having a Preserving Our Future meeting, which is Public Works talking about the transportation and maintenance tax that will be coming up soon, half-cent sales tax, renewing it. It's 40 years old, and we need to keep going so we can maintain our roads. We'll be doing that tomorrow night, 5 to 7. In Arizona City, we'll be there February 28th from 1 to 2 at the library. I've been to enough of these, I can almost do the presentation myself with the cards. And I've got a State of the County meeting coming up February 27th up here in Anthem. If you haven't got your seats for that, you'll want to do it. It's kind of tight space. We can seat 100 people, and we're more than halfway full. So if you email BOS District 4 at pinal.gov, we can get you hooked up for that. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This, I want to do what would be probably considered a personal point of privilege in a sense, because it kind of covers all the departments, and it's the Citizens Academy that our attorney Kent Volkman put on for the whole county, and my district administrator attended it to kind of see what was there. Here's some of the things, topics, which I think education is probably one of the better things we can do for our community on the role of each of our offices, and particularly the county attorney's office. And they talked about open public meetings. They've talked about when they might prosecute a case and when they might not prosecute a case. Better understand the decision-making by the county attorney's office on items. They had some breakout rooms where they were able to do some scenarios. I just think that this shows that we are really trying to educate our community on the processes that take place in front of us. I know that it's frustrating at times when we as county supervisors go, well, our county attorney said. This kind of gives some background as to why we listen to our county attorney and explain the statutes and the Constitution of Arizona. So it's kind of a shout out to the county attorney's office for putting that on, and I understand they will put more on, and you can look at the website to participate those in the future. So nothing specific to District 3 today, but I thought this was worth mentioning.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Surtee.
We're having a District 5 State of the County also, just like all the others are doing. We're going to have just about all the department heads there, as well as the elected, the assessor, county attorney, recorder, and treasurer, and the sheriff. And this one is going to be March 7th, 5:30 to 7:30 at the Apache Junction Multi-Generational Center. Had it last year in Gold Canyon. It's going to be at the Multi-Gen in AJ this year. Also, this weekend is Lost Dutchman Days, and the county is going to have some booths. And you're also going to see some of the same departments represented out there. So if you're at the carnival or the rodeo, and as you walk out through the different vendors and booths, you'll see that the county actually has a booth out there, and that's kind of exciting to be doing that. A couple weeks ago, I highlighted how the issue with the squatters / boondockers is basically solving itself out on the BLM land at the near the ghost town, Lost Dutchman State Park. However, when that happened, they have now gone other places. And this is not only a problem for District 5, it's a problem that is now statewide. You'll see these same folks down in the Cactus Forest in Maricopa. I think every district now has them. And it's going to get worse, not better. Last night there was a community meeting, and County Attorney Kent Volkmer has now jumped on board. We're having a multi-law enforcement district or department meeting next week, and we think this is going to be even bigger, that the task force will include the state reps and the land departments, and it's got to be addressed statewide because it's going to keep increasing, and need to know who can go where for how long and what are the rules. You can't just come to Arizona because it's beautiful and wonderful and just park somewhere and live there. So this task force is going to be forming. It is going to be, we're going to be looking for all your input, which is why I'm bringing this up to you all now. So one last thing, also a couple weeks ago, we highlighted how we had the community cleanup in Gold Canyon where people could bring large items that wouldn't fit into dumpster. And this is happening all over, and we want to thank Joe Ortiz has been very instrumental in getting this done in all of our districts and the different trash hauling companies, and we have another video to highlight this as well.
Somebody threw off a mattress here on the side of the road. It's right in the right-of-way, and it's certainly going to be a hazard for people driving through here. Obviously, we got it out in time. It's certainly an accident just waiting to happen. And then you just look over here. People tend to take their trash and bring it out to places that it doesn't belong, and the county recognized this. We have residents call and let us know where these areas are, and so we're doing everything in our power to mitigate that. We've really focused in the last 2 to 3 years on the problem of illegal dumping. Some of the areas that we've identified as being heavy, we've done stuff like build dirt berms, put signs up. One of the new things that we're working on now is implementing having cameras out to discourage people from illegal dumping, and we have seen a positive impact. When somebody sees somebody illegally dumping, we don't encourage them to confront the individual, but if they can get a picture or a video and then call the sheriff's office and let them handle it. We do cleanups throughout the county. Participation at our cleanups has increased over the last several years. So it is positive, it is working, and we want to continue to get the word out to people so that they know what their options are. We recently had a cleanup in Santan Valley. That would have been the time to get rid of this. Whoever threw it here on the side of the road could have just brought it to that cleanup and properly have disposed of it. It's a fluid program where we see a need, and when we get requests from residents that, hey, we need to have a cleanup, we're accommodating those requests. They're posted on the website, pinal.gov. People can go on there and see when there's one that they're able to access. Somebody has brought the cinder block and dumped it off. I mean, this isn't very appealing. When people are taking stuff and thinking, they're putting it in a desert, nobody's going to see it. It is seen, and it really has a huge impact. And the county's doing everything that they can to mitigate that and to keep our desert clean and pristine. There's a lot of improvement. There's a lot less happening.
And I'm glad you guys are here.
Through outreach and telling people that we have these other programs available to them, it's really helped a lot.
Is that it, Supervisor? I mean, that's a lot.
That's it. Thank you. Yeah, that's probably the most positive thing we're all doing is the cleanups. Everybody just loves the fact that the county can help with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think all 5 of us have experienced a really positive effect in our communities because that we've taken that initiative to do that. And I believe it was our county attorney's office when we were talking about all the different issues we had with the illegal dumping. He was the one that proposed that we do something like that. So I appreciate that, Kent, and your efforts there. As far as what district am I in? District 2? Everybody, the state of the county from the district's perspective is really great, and I appreciate each of my brethren that are sitting on this bench with me for their efforts and the things that they're doing to communicate the things in a positive way, the things that are taking place. There's a lot of things that's taking place in each of our communities, specifically in our districts, and I appreciate them and commend them for those efforts. I actually have an HOA meeting. We've kind of broke it down, not just at the state of the county, but HOA meetings. I remember before they split our district, my district, I had 76 HOAs. 76. It was hard. It was like herding cats, trying to get them to come to meetings or even get them organized in some form or fashion. I'm down to about 43 now because of the division, and we've made a lot of headway. I'm going to be meeting with the Santan Heights HOA this Thursday at 6:30. Those that are welcome to come out. We have many of our staff members that are going to be there and be present to address any of the issues and things of that nature. Traffic is always a big issue, especially when it comes to Santan Valley. And so there's going to be some questions regarding striping and things of that nature in Santan Heights that we're going to have staff members to address that and talk about it. I recently got a letter this morning from a young man that's lived in our area since 2013. And the congestion and everything that he and his family members have to deal with on a daily basis because they either commute to go to school, he's in college, or his parents and family members commute to go to work. And so the request is that we try to provide additional dollars to assist and help in the transportation issues. We have a lot of projects that are planned, but our biggest issue is finding and coming up with the finances to do it. We can't do it quick enough. We can't keep up on these policies or keep up on these roads. And, you know, our governor just recently did a clawback. She signed the law last year that gave $87 million for the building of the 24, the SR 24. She's proposing a clawback on it. And from what I can tell, I just don't understand it, number one. But to me, a lot of these things, politics seem to get in the way. I know many of you have talked about the nonpartisanship that needs to occur and take place. We're talking about a lot of citizens in that region, in that area, that are being affected now because of these games that are being played. We're the only area that the clawback is going to affect that's being proposed. $87 million. And every time we wait for things, for instance, the cost of building an overpass on Ironwood, where the 24 is, that went to roughly from $38 million 3 years ago to now we're looking at about $112 million. That's how much the cost of things have increased by when it comes to these items. So, and I'm just going to take a second and talk a little bit about my trip to Washington because I don't want to. Supervisor Miller is going to talk a little bit about legislation. Had the opportunity to go back to Washington and meet with a few of our representatives from our state, and to express these things that we're talking about and to try to get more involvement from our federal government to assist us and help us. You know, it's great what they're doing on the 10. We appreciate what's going on there and what's happening and the funds that were procured for that. But there's a lot more that needs to be done. And so I appreciate the opportunity to go and meet with many of our our federal representatives on an eyeball-to-eyeball situation, to where we were able to discuss our dire need that we have here in our county. And so we need their involvement and their assistance and their help. And so what a privilege that was to go spend a few days there in Washington and be able to do that. So thank you. Okay. So that concludes item number 4. Let's move on to item number 5. Supervisor Kavanaugh, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we bought a building in Coolidge for the supervisor's office, and we learned a lot about the history of it. And I'm going to have Josh Franklin, my assistant, sort of speak to the issues. And I appreciate him. He's a hardworking guy, and I can always rely on him to be well prepared. So thank you, Josh.
Supervisor stole my opening, but yep, we got the building because we thought it was a good deal, and we did find that there was a lot of important history about it. Chair, if it's okay with you, could I ask Charles Watson to come up and give his side of the story, since he was one of the veterans who left from this building? Mr. Chair?
Yes. Sorry.
I'll take that as a go. No, is it all right if I ask Charles Watson to come up?
Yes, please. Would love it.
I'm so happy to be able to be here today, and I want to say it's a pleasure, and I want to also say that I don't think there's anybody in this room living in Pinal County longer than I have, to be honest with you. And you guys are doing a great job. Maybe better than you up will get what I want. Huh? Anyway, when this building you fixed up it's wonderful what you did. And Coolidge, and it was a landmark. This thing was, all the farmers in our whole area at one time would go there to see what the Coolidge Dam, what was behind the water on there. That was the way they did it. Hayduke had a big sign back there. They'd come in and have coffee with them, and it was just a stool in the bar sign. They'd sit there, have coffee, and look and go. And that's what was Hayduke, and that's really, it's a real landmark. But what really I'm here for is to represent the DAV, Legion, veterans now, and past veterans is what I'm more really thinking about. You see, when I and others were drafted in them days, Where did we go? They sent us on a bus right there. That's where we got on that bus and left town. That's where we said goodbye to our loved ones. That's where we said goodbye to our wife. And my wife right here, I'm lucky. 71 years ago, I may not have come back to her, is what I'm trying to tell you. Because a lot of my friends didn't come back on that bus. So in this day and age, what bothers me, we forget. We forget so easy on things. This plaque that we'd like to put, because you've spent all this nice money and made it a beautiful building as a landmark, why couldn't we put a plaque representing the men of our area here that was drafted, that left on that bus? But I'm more interested in the ones that didn't come back on that bus. I cried. It tears my heart apart. I think about it because I was one of them too. And my buddies, a lot of them didn't come back. And that's why I hurt. But I would really appreciate, really, and I know the DAV. DAV, in case you don't know, some of you people, is Disabled American Veterans. And the Legion has been talking, and everybody's for it because they were husbands, sons, all of that. And I don't know how else to say you guys, but I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Natasha's going to pull the plaque up. It's dedicated in gratitude to those who left from this bus station to defend our nation, and in memory of those for whom this was the last they ever saw of home. And that's one of the things that Mr. Watson is really impressed, just the desire to remember those who didn't make it back home. So I thank you all for what you have on this. And do we need to read the resolution, Natasha, or? All right.
We'll pass it first.
Yes,
I'm
that's
assuming
right.
we're going to pass
that.
it. Okay.
I see all the speakers do that every time.
Okay.
And Mr. Watson, here is a commemorative dog tag from Pinal County for veterans.
Oh. Thank you, Josh.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
You bet.
So we visited Washington, D.C. a week ago, and I took a little time and I visited the Korean War Memorial. And, you know, it was never declared a war. It was a conflict. And it's called the Forgotten War. There's marble. It's a huge display with tens of thousands of names of Americans who lost their lives in that conflict. More than that, there are stones engraved with the millions, just the numbers of people civilians and other military personnel from around the world who engaged in the containment of socialism and engagement, in containment of communism. And so we're really appreciative, and we're dedicating this plaque, this building, so we don't forget those who make these sacrifices. So I very much appreciate our friend's memories and his service. So with this, I move that we approve item number 5 as presented, unless there's other comments from other supervisors.
Any other comments? Or should we have a second?
Mr. Chair, I second the motion.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Josh, would you read it now?
Whereas Pinal County purchased and renovated the 1938 historic Hayduke Building as the Board of Supervisors Coolidge Office, and whereas the 1938 historic Hayduke Building in Coolidge, Arizona was a center of life for the area for many years, and whereas while the 1938 historic Hayduke Building served as the Trailways bus station, it was a place of tearful goodbyes to many who were drafted, and whereas for the many of those veterans, it marked their final glimpse of home, And whereas the Coolidge Disabled American Veterans, Chapter 36, requested the commissioning of a memorial plaque to honor those veterans, now therefore we, the Pinal County Board of Supervisors, dedicate the memorial plaque affixed to the 1938 historic Hayduke building in honor of those Pinal County veterans, declared on this 21st day of February, 2024. And just wanted to make sure everyone here is invited. Coolidge on 392 South Main Street at 1 o'clock if you'd like to come.
Thank you. Those of us that'll be there, we'd like to get a picture with you. Okay? Are you going to be there for that dedication? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Natasha was just asking, do we want to take a picture with the supervisors and the proclamation right now?
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Nice. Let's do one more. 3, 2. There we go. Thank you.
Okay, next item is item number 6, Miss Lewis. Dana, how are you?
Not this tall. Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Dana Lewis, County Recorder, here for my monthly update about the Recorders and Elections Department. And we have a presentation for you today. Next. Where do I push? Okay. So I am the recorder, Dana Lewis, but it takes a village to accomplish the task of an election, and it takes many, many, many months in advance. Some of our key players in Pinal County are, of course, my Chief Deputy Recorder, Donna Diaz, who I do not thank enough, and Matt Roberts, our Deputy Elections Director. Thanks. Of course, we have ops managers and also several division supervisors who are today doing their best in in-person early voting. We also have you, the Board of Supervisors, who are an integral part of these processes, and the county manager's team. We have the county attorney's office, the sheriff's office, our threat liaison officer, the chief information officer, information security officer, public information officer, our office of emergency management, of course, the citizen call center, and then multiple community stakeholders, whether they be cities and town clerks, city managers, or even our party chairpersons. It takes everyone to make this happen. Where am I supposed to point it? Oh, see, it goes too fast. Okay. We're going to start with political observers because yesterday was the last day to register to vote, and today is the onset of in-person early voting. Additionally, all early ballots were mailed today. Political observers are able to be present in any of our spaces. They are appointed by the county party chair. And I have county underlined for a reason because the state doesn't come in and appoint people to be political observers. We always funnel them through the county party chairperson. We are able to have one per party at any location at any time. At this time, we're still in our old locations, and those are pretty small places. So we're only allowing one at any given time. The locations people can observe are, of course, the in-person early voting sites. We have 5 in the county, the early voting division, the early board on the election side, the receiving board on election night, central tabulation, and provisional processing. Key dates to remember is today, 2/21, and through March 20th, that's the day after the election. Must have the original appointment form in hand and a photo ID. We will be requiring people to sign in and out of our facilities. They are not able to bring their phones, cameras, or electronic devices with them. This is all per statute and the EPM. And questions we request be presented only to the supervisors or polling place inspectors. This way we don't upend the daily processing. And you must sign a code of conduct. These are the in-person early voting locations that were approved by the board recently. Again, they allow for the voter to be identified as the location beginning 27 days prior to the election at 7 p.m. Up to the Friday preceding the election, and I just fumbled over that. Apologies. Next. The preparation, training, and more training. Plus, people who do these processes must be election officials and certified, and they also go through signature verification training. Counter ballots have been delivered to all of our in-person early voting sites. We do have ballot-on-demand printers that have been stress tested, and supplies are available in the event of an emergency. We could talk about said emergencies later. Ensure all equipment is in working order, tested, and supplies are present. And what does that mean? Obviously, we use Dymo printers. We use our computers. All of these things, we go and we make sure everything is working. We have plenty of toner. We have plenty of labels, and that we have pens at all of our locations. We verify appropriate supply levels even for the affidavit envelopes. So when you're voting in person, you still have to put that ballot into an affidavit envelope. So we want to make sure each one of those locations have enough resources. Additionally, the assistive voting devices have been delivered by the Elections Department to the in-person early voting sites. They have plenty of I voted stickers. Logs and transfer sheets have been delivered. And then, of course, things that identify us as being Pinal County employees, our courier vests, our Pinal County shirts, our lanyards that show that we're certified election officials, ballot transfer boxes with GPS locks, and of course the ballot drop box keys because we got to open those. And then we put signage up in these locations. So what does it look like on Election Day or early voting? People sometimes are confused about what this process looks like, so want to just walk through it really briefly. The voter shows up in person. They present identification in accordance with statute. Staff then confirms identification and the eligibility for that person to vote, which means that they've updated their voter registration. Also, in this election, that they're either a registered Republican or Democrat. That is updated, or is reviewed, and then their voter status, as voting early in person, has been updated in the AVID system. The voter receives their ballot. If they want to use an assistive voting device, we receive that different type of resource presented to the voter after they have voted either on the ADA machine or a regular paper ballot. That ballot is placed in the affidavit envelope that is signed by the voter. Always we ask them to put their phone number and they date it. It is put into the ballot drop box. Bipartisan courier teams at the end of every shift go ahead and remove those. And any time that they are transferred from a satellite office to the early voting department, it's in a GPS lock transfer box. Reconciliation reports, verified audit logs, and transfer from Pinal County Elections Department to the early board for tabulation are robust. The check, double check, and a third check that we accomplish with our reconciliation reports are noted, they're color-coded, and they're available for review. Statutory required reports are sent to the party chairs daily. We're required to send to the party chairs 33 days before the election anybody who has signed up to receive an early ballot, and then 27 days prior to the election, we're sending them daily reports letting them know everybody that has voted in that election. emergency voting, and special election boards. So we have early voting by mail, in-person early voting, and then we have emergency voting, and during that time, somebody can also request a special election board. Electors who discover that they can't get to the election site, their precinct-based polling location on election day, have the ability to reach out to the recorder's office, and they can do so even through the emergency voting period. Again, emergency voting is, I've explained in the past, you just found out that mom has to have a surgery and you're getting on a plane and you're not going to be here election day, but you did not sign up to receive an early ballot in the mail. You have the ability to reach out. We will make accommodations, but that does have to be accomplished between the 7 p.m. on the Friday before the election and 7 p.m. on the Monday before the election. Last Board of Supervisors meetings, you approved that consent item. And again, we are required to, or we shall honor the requests for people to do not only the emergency, but also special election boards. What we do in Pinal County, I think, is really robust. In the past, it wasn't very well communicated, and they didn't realize that it takes, again, a lot of people to get this off the grounds. We have the ballot transfer boxes. We have bipartisan courier teams that accomplish this. We have certified election officials. We even have the ability, in the event somebody has some problems seeing, to print a large print ballot for them. So we can send that out with our special election boards. Next. Election Day. So this is the website that you can go to find where your polling locations are. At the end of the presentation, I will show you the new Pinal Votes page. But you can go here to see where your presidential preference polling places are. You can go with the interactive map to identify your polling location. It's kind of fun. And then, of course, we also have, legislative and congressional districts, supervisor district, and justice precinct maps. I think it's really important for people to understand all of the district to precinct assignments that go in to creating elections. So we've got that on the website as well. Next. This is what that fancy little map looks like. And if you go up into the upper right-hand corner, you're able to enter your address, and then it's going to show you for that election where your actual polling location is. So this is Pinal County, and where all of the little blue check marks are, because we are consolidated for this election, it shows where the polling locations are. But say I live in precinct 22, and I've been consolidated with, say, precinct 41. If I were to enter my address, it's going to tell me what my consolidated polling location is. Election day voting. Again, 52 consolidated polling locations. We have approximately 500 volunteer poll workers, 25 plus election cycle temps. We have troubleshooters, rovers, receiving boards, and command and control officers. Who are the command and control officers? Well, that first slide where I identified all of the people in our village that it takes to run our elections, those are the command and control officers. Again, on election day, we have setup time that usually starts the day before the election, and then about 5 o'clock when poll workers start arriving, they get everything set up. They put out things like the 75 electioneering banning signs, and we've also talked with them about the wait time reduction plan. Polls open at 6 a.m. and they close at 7 p.m. If you're in line at 7 p.m., you are able to cast your ballot. And the marshal will go after they call polls closed, will stand at the end of that line, making sure anybody who's in front of them has the ability to cast their ballot. Remember, you must be a registered Democrat or Republican to vote in the PPE election. Voter registration deadline was yesterday at midnight. We, again, want to remind everybody, bring your ID when you go to vote. And in Pinal County, we vote precinct-based. So even though it's a consolidated election, you must vote at your consolidated polling location. Next. What does it look like after Election Day? See, it doesn't stop on the 19th. Well, we're checking the portal for the UOCAVA ballots up until 7 p.m. Election boards are now set up. The first set of results, which are all of our early ballots, will be posted right around 8 p.m. Tabulation of the election day ballots will begin as soon as those troubleshooters start returning with the ballots. We report the early and provisional ballots to the Secretary of State's office. And then everything will be returned shortly back to Election Central. The day after the election, we work with the party chairs to make sure that we can convene the hand count board. That hand count, again, is the manual hand count of a percentage of ballots from the tabulation machines. We have the ability to cure conditional provisional ballots and process provisional ballots in the days after the election. We return ballot audit forms. We process and tabulate late earlies. So even though we tell people you have 27 days of early voting, we still have voters who will decide to drop off their early ballot on Election Day. I am a clear opponent of that. If you can get your hiney to the polls on Election Day, you should be casting a live ballot, in my opinion. But still, they have that right. So they have to go through then signature verification and audits and whatnot. We will create a post-election LNA. We'll canvass on the 28th of March, and we will be reporting to the Board of Supervisors a closeout of the election. Next. Election Day. I think there has been some confusion and brought also to the Board of Supervisors in understanding provisional ballots. The only reason in statute that I cannot accept a provisional ballot is because of things that are noted here. They've either already voted an early ballot, they're ineligible to vote. Maybe they show up and they have identification, but maybe they've been ruled a felon or incapacitated, so they are not eligible to vote. Maybe, that provisional envelope, the person decided at the last minute to hand the envelope to the clerk, but they decided to, toss their ballot or surrender and spoil it. They didn't have ID on Election Day. They chose not to sign their provisional ballot envelope. They're not registered to vote by the deadline that they were required to be. Maybe they're still registered in another county, and even though poll workers directed them to go back to that county and vote, they decided to still vote Election Day at their own county, or they're in the wrong precinct. We talk about being a precinct-based voting model in Pinal County. And when people get up and they don't understand the provisional process or how we precincted, there was such a robust amount of communications that went out. There were postcards that went out after redistricting. There were voter ID cards that also went out. We always encourage voters to please be responsible and leading up to the days of Election Day, not only to go to the Pinal Votes website, but also to check your registration and make sure you know where your precinct is. If there's any questions, we have a robust staff that can answer those questions. But if they choose, while we are in a precinct-based voting model, to not go to their designated precinct-based voting location, that provisional can't count. In the areas that are outside of the precincts that you're seeing here, which are the Picacho area, for this election, because that's the map that's active right now in GIS, you'll see the 3 blue check marks. Those are the voting locations. And this is the area that is commonly known as the Toltec, Picacho, Eloy, Red Rock, Picacho South area. And this was redistricted, but that's been a couple years now. But again, wanting to explain to people, those who came and voted and were told that they were at the wrong location were redirected. Our poll pads even have the ability to print a step-by-step GPS how to get to the other voting location. We present maps at our voting locations to show them where they're at and where they need to go to vote, so that vote's going to be counted. And again, this is that area that's been brought up several times. Out of those locations, there's about 7 polling locations. 49 provisional ballots were cast. 38 were not counted, and it was because they were either not registered to vote or they failed to go vote at the right polling location. Next ballot. There are so many security protocols.
Oh.
Am I too close?
Supervisor,
Okay.
Just tell her to
In my
a little
resounding.
bit farther away from the mic.
Thank you, Mr. City. Again, security protocols. There's a video that's on deck. It's running around the county right now, and Natasha can play it after the presentation, about what it takes to accomplish a successful logic and accuracy testing. That our equipment is certified federally with the Election Assistance Commission and also statewide by the Arizona Secretary of State's office. We partner with law enforcement and state resources to secure our elections. We don't allow anywhere near ballots, black, blue, or number 2 pencils. You see anybody who's an election official walking around with red pens, and that's for that reason, is because we don't want it to ever be misconstrued that we're doing anything naughty around a ballot. And it's really easy to defend all of the actions when we're methodical, we're transparent, and we document everything. And boy, do we document everything. I do encourage voters, though, if they see something, say something. The Citizens Contact Center, 311, if you're in Pinal County, will easily be able to route a call to our offices so that if you're seeing something, uncomfortable with something, or just want more knowledge, we'll be able to take care of that for you. We do our best to combat mis, dis, and malinformation in our communities. As people are leaving today, if they would like to stop by the call center desk, there is a handout about mis, dis, and malinformation and what I need for community partners to assist us with in those problems. Our election management software is in the tabulation room. That was something that we accomplished about 8 months ago. And that tabulation and early board are live streamed. We have higher levels of physical security to include dual badge access in our tabulation areas and vaults. We have enhanced ballot reconciliation processes, expanded testing of tabulation equipment and programming. We have emergency and contingency planning. So when we talk about stress testing, when we talk about if the aliens come to invade us, where we're going to go to tabulate our ballots, we've got all of that planned out. We do post-election hand counts, working with our stakeholders. We have increased public access to all divisions, the elections department, the early voting division, the voter registration, and in-person early voting and provisionals. Again, whether you want a tour, you want to come and meet with our supervisors to understand what they do and how passionate they are about their positions, or just understand our processes a little bit better, we'll make that happen. Again, improve relationships with stakeholders. We've been at the law enforcement agency services, county stakeholder meetings, town meetings, you name it, we've tried to be there. Our voter outreach program is pretty intense, and the recorded surveillance that we have is retained for 30 days per retention schedule after the challenge period, and there is no standard of resolution established in either the ARS or in the Elections Procedure Manual. Next. This is the handy-dandy, beautiful new Pinal County Votes website. Again, here you can see where to register to vote, where to vote, early voting, upcoming election dates, and voter outreach, and then, of course, the FAQs. Ma'am? I bring this up because we've been talking a lot since last fall in regards to the problem that will occur if the recount threshold is triggered in the primary election or general election, and what we need to do to make sure UOCAVA voters get their ballots in time, and then also make sure we don't bust the deadline for our presidential electors. This was an infographic that was sent not only to the Board of Supervisors and county managers, that was created by our communications team, thank you, but was also sent out to candidates and is now also on our websites and social media. So here are the election dates, and here are all of the different key dates that go into those. Again, we will be, after this election, be hammering this. Next, ma'am. And again, timeline overview, your candidate filing, your challenge periods, deadlines, and then appeal deadlines, and then, of course, your election dates. That is the end of this presentation. Everybody's still awake. Does anybody have any questions?
Supervisor Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Lewis, you mentioned something about receiving a mail-in ballot, maybe showing up to vote instead. What happens when someone receives a mail-in ballot and they go to the polling place? Is that then a provisional, or what happens? Tell us what happens.
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, Supervisors. So if somebody is set up to receive an active early voting ballot and then they decide to leave that on the counter and either go to vote in person early during that 27-day timeline or to vote at the polls, it's a regular ballot. What will happen is that mailed ballot will be canceled in our system, and they have the ability to either exercise in-person early voting or a regular, not provisional ballot on Election Day.
Thank you. And then the discussion of bandwidth and cameras and so on. A salesman somehow caught up with me at my office, and I guess there's a new provider in town for fiber optic, and the box is basically in front of the elections building. Have you been made aware of that?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, members of the board. That's not my purview. I can tell you some of the questions that have been asked in the past in regards to bandwidth and whatnot. That's an accurate statement. 2 years ago, it was an accurate statement, though. We did have problems where we didn't have that, and it was unknown to us the amount of data you need or are required to have to run the Avid system at a given time. For those of you who don't know, we have 300,000 registrants in Pinal County, and where we're in that system, it's an active system. Then you add early voting, you have elections department, and then you have signature verification going on. Each one of those desktops does take a lot of bandwidth, if you want to call it that, and we didn't have it then. But it was because of people who are citizens of this county who brought that to your attention 2 years ago, and you working with the IT department, you were able to rectify that 2 years ago. So that wasn't a problem back then. When we were first bringing on everybody being able to see the ballot drop boxes, it was a problem then. That has since been rectified.
And so in the video of the tabulation process and so on, that's streamed online during so anybody, if they're streaming it, if your office is streaming it, someone can use their software to copy that video as they're watching it. If they're at home, nothing prevents that, correct?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, members of the board. I would assume so. I would assume you could take your cell phone to that and record something.
Okay. But the public kind of needs to know that, because I think you said 30 days. There's a retention policy of 30 days, and we ditched the video after that. 2 meetings ago, I think I asked that we have an item to save video for 2 years because of lawsuits. So we'll cover that. And then I saw a video that you just went through with the state, the verification of the tabulators. Forgive me, I have one of these headaches today, and I'm having a hard time getting the words out. But you had on that video, the state came in and counted a sample number of ballots. What was the total number of ballots that were counted in that verification process? So you had...
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, members of the board, for that, the state, the Arizona Secretary of State's logic and accuracy testing, we did about 1,500 ballots. We had previously done an internal LNA where we did over 3,000.
Okay. And these machines, are they the ES&S that we used in 2022?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, they are.
Are we going to change those out this year?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, when we get to our fancy new building, we will be changing those out.
Okay. Is it going to be an updated, or has the RFP been done yet, or what's the status of that?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, that has all been accomplished. We'll be receiving DS-950s.
That's from the same company?
It is, sir.
And so the machines we're using now, nothing's changed about them since 2022. We haven't changed software, or have we? Have they been updated with new software?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, correct. The software, the election management software, was updated, and it has been certified as well.
Okay, and that is inside those election counting machines, the tabulating machines?
It's in the server itself that the tabulation machines reports the information into.
Okay, so is the server, are there other computers outside the server and the machine that attaches to them in any way?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, all of the tabulation equipment, the electionware software, even the gateway computer, those are all, again, strict security protocols go into place to secure all of that equipment and all of that software. So yes, they were updated and they were certified.
Okay, you said the gateway computer, what is that?
The gateway, whenever we take any of our information, like our tabulation results, we take them from that and we add them to a gateway computer so that the electionware computers never touch the internet.
Is the gateway the term of art or is it the brand?
Oh, no, it's an internal term.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they make gateway computers anymore.
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, good call. I don't believe that they do.
Okay. So I think the air gap issue has been brought to my attention, that making sure that, these things are connected to the internet. Are there any other, so there's the server, but that doesn't have Wi-Fi on it, correct?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, no, they do not.
Are there any other computers that are used in the process aside from the server and the tabulators, which all have software in them? Are there any other computers used in the process that handle the SNS machines?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, I'm not sure what you're asking for. So we have the computer, that's our electionware computer, that is used to design the ballot and create the programming for tabulating the election. We have the tabulators.
Can I interrupt? So we'll stop there for a sec. So is that computer, is that a desktop or is that part of the server?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, the server, that's what we call, because that's where the tabulation results go to. That is the programming software to program the ballot and design the ballot, but also to receive the tabulation results. That is a desktop computer that is in a secured cage on camera in the tabulation area.
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead with the rest of your explanation.
And then we have the gateway, that's where we take the election results from that computer, that desktop computer, then we bring that to the gateway computer, and then that is brought to give us election night reporting results.
Okay, so there's no other laptop computers involved in that?
That would be the gateway, sir.
That's the gateway, okay. All right, and so are you aware of any issues that occurred in 2022 that would be cause for concern? Was there any information that you're aware of that the tabulator machines were not counting properly?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, members of the board, I'm not aware of information. I understand that there were some definite faults in reconciliation reports. There was an in-depth audit that was done by an outside member that was brought in. We've reviewed all of those findings, and we have done everything to make sure that whatever happened bad in 2022 does not happen in 2024.
Okay, and my final question is, have you reviewed any emails with the county attorney's office that spells any problems out specifically?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, members of the board, I have not.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a question real quick.
Yes.
When you talk about the software update, I believe that we were told that was from Microsoft operating system 7 to 10, because 7 was no longer not operational but supported. And that's the upgrade, just like I would do it on my home computer, where it's like way old. I'm going to bring it up to date where it operates correctly.
Chairman Goodman, Vice Chair McClure, members of the board, that is correct. But again, whenever we do anything in our election wear, we have to require that it be certified again. So when the vendor chose to update this, we brought it online, and then we went through the certification process.
Absolutely. And then one other question. I saw in emails the other day where someone said, gee, why are you doing an LNA 9 months ahead of the election? And that I thought, what the heck? We do it for every election. Is that not correct?
Chairman Goodman, Vice Chair McClure, members of the board, the person who reached out to us, I'm not sure that they understand all of the parameters or all of the elections that go on in Pinal County. We do intend to reply in an email. However, but I'm going to reach out personally to that voter because I think maybe they don't understand what's going on with the presidential preference election. And I think that that's an opportunity that I can educate a voter, and that's always where we want to be.
Excellent. Thank you.
Supervisor Surtee.
So we got condensed polling places. People are still confused from years ago when we consolidated all the elections. Is there any plan to better signage? Right now, you'll see little signs a foot off the ground that this is the polling place. You know, being a retailer, I mean, being able to catch people's attention is important. Is there any way to possibly do some better signage? A lot of people move, the polling places move. How do we let them know exactly where to go that morning?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Surtee, members of the board, I appreciate when the members of this board come to me, not with just the problems, but also some really thoughtful solutions. I love that idea. I know the team has been looking about, because this is a consolidated election, putting additional signage out that said, you used to vote here, but you need to vote over here right now, and here's the address. We're looking at working with the past polling places or the consolidated polling places to see if they'll allow us to do that for this upcoming election.
Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real quick, a couple of things. Yesterday was the last day you could register to vote in the presidential preference election, correct? You can still register to vote. Today, it'll just be that you could vote in the primary election.
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Miller, members of the board, that is an absolutely accurate statement. We call it books open and books closed because then we're closing the books for this election. So that's why we had that registration date set for midnight last night. But if you go online and you register to vote, say today, you will be registered for upcoming elections.
Correct. And I just, it's all in communication, and it, you know. So anyway, wanted to make sure that was straight because I was asked about that. So we consolidate precincts. We put 2 or 3 precincts together for a voting location.
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Miller, members of the board, for this election, we're required by statute to consolidate polling locations. We must reduce to 50%. Here are the analytics behind that. We have 300,000 registrants in Pinal County. Out of the 300,000 registrants, 110 are Republican, 70,000 are Dems, so that's 180,000 voters. Out of those, 115,000 are set up to receive an active early ballot by mail. That means we're probably going to have about 65,000 or could have up to 65,000 turnout at the polls. When they set up precincts, they're looking at if everybody were to turn out on Election Day. So knowing that, historic precedence has shown that they reduce the elections because, again, instead of all 300,000, it's minimized.
Okay. Let me get to my question, though.
Yes, sir.
My question really is the discussion about voting centers. In my brain, I go, well, if you had 2 or 3 precincts in a location, it's kind of a voting center in a sense. I mean, it might be an expanded definition of it, but there's been push to remove voting centers. Of course, there's some counties that are exclusively voting centers. I believe it's Yuma County for one, because they're so rural and they're so far out, which means that it doesn't really matter what precinct I live in, I can go to this voting center and vote. We've heard a lot of discussion today about, well, I was confused on where to go or what, or my vote won't count because I went to the wrong. I guess my question is, what's the difference between consolidating precincts and not calling them voting centers or creating voting centers, which may open up the door for more people the ability to vote and not worry about where they went or if they went to the wrong place?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Miller, members of the board, Pinal County is one of only 2 counties in the entire state that are still precinct-based voting models. We have about another 5 counties in the entire state that are hybrids, that, the Native American communities the word escapes me right now, underserviced communities, we don't remove from there. And so they have, again, their voting location does not change. But what they've done in areas that are, heavily populated, they have consolidated and gone to vote centers. So that's called a hybrid model. And then there is just the vote centers that no matter where you go, you're going to get a ballot printed on a ballot on demand printer, and then you're going to be able to mark that ballot, and then you're going to be able to put it in one of the bins. Again, here in Pinal County, we are still precinct-based. To weigh in, yeah, we could do that. There would be an uptick in cost for us because we would have to have ballot-on-demand printers, and would be that somebody would have to bring that to the Board of Supervisors, and the Board of Supervisors would need to consider that.
Okay, and this is probably just more of a comment. I mean, as the challenge to find voting locations gets more difficult, we may need to look at what might be a solution to that, and because, I want everybody to vote. I want them to have the access to vote, but also, the challenges of location is getting tougher and tougher for everybody to vote. So anyway, it's just some thoughts I had and wanted to be clear about last day to register. Thank you.
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Miller, members of the board, thank you for that. Again, that would be at the purview of the Board of Supervisors in the event that you wanted to change from being a precinct-based voting model to a precinct, vote center model or a hybrid of that. We can walk through that after maybe this next election or the primary. We could talk analytics and maybe doing some research on that.
I like the hybrid thoughts, but anyway. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You bet, and I appreciate that. Supervisor Kavanaugh, I think you had one other question.
Yes,
Just
thank
one
you,
or
Mr. Chairman.
several?
Yeah,
okay.
So the old computers had Windows 7 or something. Is that what you call the gateway computer?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, I believe all of them were operating on 7, and so for our EMS, and so those did need to be updated.
So were they updated or replaced?
We actually, apologies. These are for the big guys. Yeah, they were updated.
Okay. So here's my concern. I have an invoice here from ES&S with 2 Dell Latitude laptops, and it says they have Intel Wi-Fi 6 AX2 Bluetooth. What are those computers for?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, members of the board, if I could step away, I can ask some questions and then come back.
That'd be great.
Or I could provide answers later.
For the sake of time, might not be a bad idea to do that. Maybe you come back at another point and address that, okay?
Okay.
Because I know we've got a break at 12:30 and we still have several other items that we need to get through. But, yeah, I'd like to have you follow up on that if you would.
Chairman
okay?
Goodman, members of the board, absolutely.
All right, perfect.
And to clarify, it's a purchase order, not an invoice.
What number?
I'll provide it to the
Clerk,
and she can.
Okay, perfect. All right, and then make sure you get that so that you can have some background on that. And so, for me, I appreciate you coming and give us an in-depth analysis of what's going on. As far as a recommendation on getting the word out on where their pollings are, we have these banners that we put out that seems to be the best communication. They're like campaign banners that we put out on the corner with a QR, those little, I don't know what they call them, QR code. And it takes them directly to our website and shows them. And we, where our town hall meeting is or whatever the case may be, that's been a big form of communication that we've been able to accomplish, short of direct mail, which is the most expensive way to get the message out there. And so with that, now there was a question that was brought up earlier, and I think, Chris, you're prepared to talk about this when it comes to the cameras, the videos, and FBI approved.
And I think Ms. Lewis did address that briefly, that there are no specific standards from the FBI to resolution or cameras, and it is admissible in court. There is no prohibition. If you think about how many times you see cell phone video that someone takes that they want to admit in the court, it depends on how much weight the court gives or the jury gives any of that video, depending on what resolution and so forth. If it's grainier, they may not give a lot of more weight to it and so forth. But there is no standard and there is no prohibition against providing any video footage to a court. There's no court rule that says it must meet XYZ standard.
Okay. And that even brings up another question with with us having cameras in there. You're going to have some people that go in there to vote, and they may be thinking, they can see how I'm voting. Is that any kind of an issue, you think?
Yes, I mean, and Dana may want to address that a little bit more, but part of the problem that you would have with that also is a lot of these are, because we are precinct-based, they're not our facilities that we would have the ability to get cameras there and so forth, and the amount of storage space and so forth. It's more of an IT question than a legal question, but it would present a significant amount of challenges because of the way your precinct vote and 90 some odd precincts across the county, over 110 maybe at times. So yeah, and those are not all our facilities. Many of them aren't.
And Chairman Goodman, members of the board, we are not able to record or to have on camera anybody who's voting. That takes away the ability of the anonymous ballot, so that does not happen. So if we are in a location that does have cameras, like a recorder's office in Apache Junction, that's an area that normally has a recorder, treasurer, assessor, community development. That's a place where they take money. Any of the places that they actually have like a four-way voting booth, those cameras are turned down on Election Day.
Okay. So in essence, if I could, before I go to you, Supervisor, you okay with that?
Yeah,
go
ahead. Go ahead. So I just have a
okay.
comment to make.
Is that, and maybe this is where my confusion was, is these cameras that we're talking about are actually in the tabulation at the main office for the new building that's going up, right?
Chairman Goodman, members of the board, not only are they located in our tabulation area, they're also located in the area that we call early board. That's where they're removing the ballot away from the affidavit because we're handling ballots, we're on camera, and also for signature verification. That brings to the clarification. Of course, we have PPI on the screen when we're doing signature verification, so we don't have the ability to zoom in on any of those cameras for that reason.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Miller, you had a follow-up.
Yeah, well, the reason I lose my conference room for a month is because it's the one spot in our building that doesn't have a camera. So I don't get, so no conference room for
Mr.
District
Miller.
3 right now. And I said, well, why? Because it doesn't have a camera in it. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll build another room without a camera so they can use that.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, I'm snarky.
Okay.
Chairman Goodman, Mr. Miller, the voters of Pinal County, specifically in District 3, appreciate your sacrifice of your conference room during the in-person early voting timeline.
Happy to do it.
All right. Hey, thank you. And we look forward to your follow-up with certain questions, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Dana. Okay, item number 7, Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try and be brief here on my legislative report from the LPC from CSA. We had we took 3 items we supported, 6 items we opposed, 3 items are information only, and then we voted to hold 1 for more information. I think you all received a copy. I had Natasha print this out, and it's a public record. Anybody can get a copy of this. It kind of gives the analysis of why we either supported or opposed certain legislation. I do want to highlight a couple items in here. The sober living action on 1361 we support because we do believe there needs to be a little more oversight. I mean, I'm not a big oversight kind of person, but having put a family member to rest yesterday that died from fentanyl is pretty personal to me. And part of the problem was she was actually in rehab, but there was little observation or little control over her activities, and so maybe there needs to be something more done in that. So I pushed to make sure that we continue to strengthen maybe the oversight of sober living. We opposed a item that was 1556 because of the trying to remedy some Arizona tax laws that did not pan out good for counties. Another one was that we opposed was a public hearing. This one, I don't know. This is the way. This is 1731, Senate Bill 1731. If you want to create chaos in a board meeting, this would be the way to do it. So we opposed it because it allowed for discussion with a person from the public with no background to the subject. So you can look at that one on your own and really see why the decision there was. We did support this 2866. Again, we think that this is really a pretty interesting bill because this goes to the transportation and electric cars and a fee that would go towards the registration of electric cars, that money would go into the HERF fund to help support that HERF fund. That was sponsored by Representative Cook, which I think is a very, very good and well thought out bill and had a lot of support. I do want to touch base on two bills that were not listed and did not come through LPC that I testified on, and that was 1172. Actually, I testified on 2647, referred to as the Farm to Muni bill. I oppose it. I oppose it as it's written right now. I know that it seems to have a lot of support, but I can tell you right now, as it's written, it will not help Pinal County in its water situation. This is a item that has been written up to resolve Maricopa counties, who has the same problem as we have, and I knew this would happen, that they will resolve Maricopa County's issues before they will address Pinal County's issues. I've been contacted by a lot of people because of my opposition of this bill, but I can tell you, and it had a lot of support, even from people from Pinal County, which kind of shocked me, but it will dig this hole deeper for Pinal County. It will not resolve it, and it needs. And the item that's left out of it is the replenishment. It does not have a replenishment component in it, and if it does not have a replenishment component to it, it will not receive my support in any way, shape, or form. And I made that perfectly clear. If you want to look at my testimony, it's on file. You can go to the state legislature and see that Natural Resource Committee testimony about a week ago. I can't remember the exact date. But unless you have any questions, that's my report on legislative activities at the state this week.
Thank you, Supervisor Miller. He's our water guru, and that's one of the reasons why we have Supervisor Miller in that. I have a question. Sure. In regards to that bill. Is it moving forward?
It did pass out of committee with a split vote. I think it was 5-4. However, I keep hearing that, don't worry, Supervisor Miller, they will add a replenishment component from the chatter from around the Capitol. I hope so. I hope so. But we will not get a second bite at this apple if this goes through. I think it was a bad tactic to not include it at the beginning of this, and I don't know why it wasn't. I was not asked my opinion during the writing or the composing of it. Again, I think it just was to resolve Maricopa County's problems and not really a statewide solution. And then in my testimony, and I think if you go watch it, I want legislation that will resolve some water challenges in the future. But whatever legislation comes out has to be one that addresses the state in all AMAs. And this does not. So
I appreciate that. And so I think maybe the other four of us ought to weigh in on this one big time, because I think whenever the CAP and all the agreements that were made way back in the 60s for all of that, we kind of got the short end of the stick here in Pinal County, and we don't need to do that again. So we need to push that.
And if I may, it's not going to show up on any CSA because it's not a county-specific item.
Yeah.
It really is addressed in the kind of the water arena.
So we need to weigh in.
Have I gone too far, Counselor? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I was looking over your way too. So, but then I looked away real quick because I was afraid you're going to go like this, and so.
And you can go into a lot of detail about Pinal County and the challenges we have here. And I'm certainly willing to discuss it in more detail at some point, but we have to be vigilant as to what they're doing with the legislation up there.
Okay. Keep us posted what you need from us. Okay.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Item number 8, our purchasing agreement, our purchasing report.
Good morning, Chairman Goodman, members of the board, Angie Woods, Director of the Office of Budget and Finance. And today I have the Purchasing Division report for February 21st, 2024. The board is first requested to approve 2 contract awards. RFP 231527, Vehicle and Equipment Parts, Repair and Services. It's recommended contracts to be awarded with the following suppliers: Callahan Enterprises, LLC, Quality Vans and Specialty Vehicles, Watson Chevrolet. The initial term of the contract begins February 21st and will run concurrent with the current contract with 3 optional 1-year extensions. This contract is to be used by the Fleet Services Department. Second is ROQ 243629, Engineering Design of the East-West Corridor. It's recommended Jacobs Engineering Group be awarded a contract beginning February 21st, 2024 through February 20th, 2025. The contract is to be used by Development Services, the Public Works Division. Next, the board is requested to approve the following 7 contract amendments. First, ROQ 204826 for on-call general airport services. It's recommended to approval of amendment number 3 to exercise optional extension period from March 28th of 2024 through March 27th of 2025 with Armstrong Consultants Incorporated, Dibble and Associates Consulting Engineers, Strand Associates Incorporated, Trace Consulting LLC. There is 1 optional extension period remaining, and the contract is used by the Development Services Department, the Public Works Division. ROQ 204926 for on-call general civil engineering services. It's recommended the approval of amendment number 3 to exercise the optional extension period from March 28th of 2024 through March 27th, 2025 with AECOM Technical Services Incorporated, Dibble, Intellis Incorporated, Point Engineers LLC, Sonomas, Stanley Consultants Incorporated, Strand Associates Incorporated, Trace Consulting LLC, T.Y. Lin International, WSP USA Environment and Infrastructure. There is one optional extension period remaining on these contracts, and the contracts are used by the Development Services Department, the Public Works Division. ROQ 205026, on-call geotechnical engineering services. It's recommended approval of amendment number 3 to exercise the optional extension period from March 28th of 2024 through March 27th of 2025 with ACS Services, Nino and More Geotechnical and Environmental Sciences Consultants, Quality Testing LLC, and Western Technologies Incorporated. There's one optional extension period remaining, and the contract is used by our Development Services Department, Public Works Division. RFP 220431, Electronic Health Records Software. It's recommended approval of amendment number 1 to retroactively exercise the optional extension period from June 20th of 2023 through June 19th of 2024. There are 3 optional extensions remaining, and the contract is used by our Public Health Services District. RFP 222326, Public Health Consulting. It's recommended approval of amendment number 2 to exercise the optional extension period from May 18th of 2024 through May 17th of 2025 with Cole Consulting LLC. There are 2 optional extension periods remaining, and the contract is used by Public Health Department. RFP 223426, Public Health Accreditation Consulting. It's recommended approval of amendment number 2 to exercise the optional extension period from May 18th of 2024 through May 17th of 2025 with Cole Consulting LLC. There are 2 optional extension periods remaining, and the contract is used by the Public Health Department. IFB 230928. For asphalt pulverization services. It's recommended approval of amendment number 1 to exercise the optional extension period from March 15th of 2024 through March 14th of 2025 with Asphalt Busters Incorporated and Carbon Crusher Incorporated. There are 3 optional extension periods remaining, and the contracts are used by the Development Services Department, the Public Works Division. Next, the board is requested to approve the following purchases per Pinal County Procurement Code Section PC 1-350, governing competition in practicable purchases over $100,000. In the amount of $100,000 with supplier HCM Consulting. We'll be using them for temporary staff augmentation support for our payroll division in the Office of Budget and Finance. In the amount of $100,000, Capsco International Corporation is our supplier. Then we'll be using them for in-state supplier for Huey overhaul and dash conversion. The Sheriff's Office will be using that particular purchase. And the amount of $500,000 with Standard Arrow for the specialized Huey and UH1 mandatory maintenance and repair service. The Sheriff's Office will be utilizing that purchase. Lastly, the board is notified of the following 2 cooperative purchases that have been made. PO 251202 with Empire Machinery in the amount of $157,547.94 for a 2024 Caterpillar 256 compact track loader with mulcher attachment. The department entering that requisition was our Fleet Services Department. PO number 251216 with the supplier San Diego Police Equipment for the amount of $203,809.52. We'll be purchasing ammunition for the Sheriff's Office. Are there any questions on today's report?
Thank you for that. Is there anyone here who can speak to the maintenance on the Huey helicopter? The requirements and how many hours we're using it?
I don't believe so, sir. Okay. It would be the Sheriff's Office.
Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
Supervisor Kavanaugh, the sheriff is outside. He is watching, so if we can wait just a second for him to enter the building.
Okay. We can do that.
Can we have some elevator music while we wait?
Yeah.
I can do a little dance.
Or, oh, okay.
We could move to approve, Mr. Chairman, with excluding this item and have it discussed at our next meeting as well.
Here. Is he here yet? Oh. Can you tell the sheriff out there that he can shake hands later? Well, I mean, we are on a time crunch, so did you see him?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the purchasing report as presented with the exception of the $500,000 maintenance on the helicopter item and set that item out for our next regularly scheduled BOS meeting.
So we have a motion on the, we have a second. Okay, it appears that motion fails, so we're going to still wait for Mark, Sheriff Lamb. He shrunk?
Yeah.
He's probably doing an interview.
Can we set the one item aside and then vote on it later
Bring
today?
it back when
Bring
he
it back
comes
this
in. Yeah, we could do that.
Not the next meeting, but today.
Today, we could still, could we do that?
Yes, if we can just hold the whole entire purchase report and then come back to it.
Okay, that'd be good. Let's do that. All right, let's just hold it, put it on hold. Okay, so we put that on hold. Let's move forward to item number 9, consent items. Okay, number 9, consent items. All items indicated by an asterisk will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda, unless a board member, county manager, or member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. So I've been asked to pull by Supervisor Miller number H. I have a request to pull from the, well, let me ask any other board members. Do you have anybody that wants to pull anything?
Item F is in Frank.
Okay. Item F.
There he is.
And then any others that would like to pull something? Anybody from the public? I have for you, I believe, Richard Purnell. Okay. Item F, H, K, A, A. And Mr. Bareilles.
Item AC.
AC. Okay, so we've got H, F, K, A, A, C. That's what I have. Okay. We get a motion moving forward then? You need me to remind you? That's items H, F, K, A, and AC.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda items minus H, F, K, AA, and AC.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, Supervisor Miller, item H, and I believe Mr. Purnell. Okay.
Have him first.
Why don't you come forward first?
I know his question.
And I think, why don't you go ahead and speak to all of those that you've asked to be pulled, okay?
Okay. Yes, my name's Richard Periano. I'm with Oracle Ranch, and I'm located at 83222 East Legacy Lane in Oracle, Arizona. And the first item I'd like to speak on is item F. Item F is on the intergovernmental agreement between Pinal County and the Arizona State Board of Equalization, and they review the property tax reviews and appeals. And I'd like to put this item up for consideration to make an agenda item for a later date to make this decision. As we heard earlier, it's good to see something and say something. The administrative process is broken on appeals. The people's only option is to go to court. I can show examples where the current BOE agreement, they immediately ask for the assessor's recommendation. The assessor was not prepared or had no data to present in valuation, and the hearing officer sides with the assessor's valuation. I went through the appeal process with the assessor, with the chief assessor, and they validated the data as correct. I went to the BOE with hearings. They validate the data as correct. But then we go to the county attorney, and they look through the numbers that their own group calculated. And they say, you know what? We're off by about $480,000 in our calculation. So they send me an email, hey, we're off by $480,000. This shows the process that there is a problem with our appeals here. And it would be good to look at this state Board of Equalization and see, does this make sense to have this agreement again? Because when we went through the process, the assessor has no data for valuation, and the hearing officer agrees. There is no, they just say whatever the assessor says must be true. What is your recommendation? We will approve it. And that is not fair to the people, to have the people go to court just for them to finally back down. And that's the first item I'd like to make an agenda item to postpone this so that we can review and consider other alternatives.
Okay. Item
Mr.
H.
Chairman, would it be appropriate to ask questions, or is that a call to the, is that a call?
I think we can ask the council.
You have pulled the item, so it is subject to being able to be questioned back and forth at the chairman's prerogative, whether or not you want to question the presenter or the public comments.
Okay. I have a simple question.
Just one.
Just one?
Yeah, please.
Can it be a multi-part?
Simple one, too.
Can it be a multi-part? No, I'm just kidding. When you talked about the errors of 480,000, I just want to make sure that was in your favor.
That's correct.
That was discovered.
The assessor valued it very high. They came back, if you just add the assessor's own numbers, the values for each of their improvements, they don't add up.
But they came down 480,000?
They would like to bring it down 480,000.
Okay.
But they didn't bring it down.
And you're...
No, I will not accept their offer. I'm going to the court.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to see the judge on that.
Okay, all right. So they did bring it down. Okay.
They didn't bring it down. They offered to. In the court, they'll try. They can try to.
Okay.
They can go for the
Okay.
full value or
I get
even
it.
more.
I get
it's
it.
up to them.
Okay, all right. So, and then I think item H, would you speak to that?
Yes.
I have a question on
Yes.
K, though.
Oh, you know what? Supervisor Miller. Okay.
All right. Thank you. As I look at this, this is an IGA with the ACS KR that provides the hearing officers. Isn't that what we're addressing here?
That is correct. Every year or several years, we go ahead and enter into this to provide the hearing officers based on the size of the county. You know, this county board of supervisors could sit as the hearing board to hear this, but instead you go and you contract to have a hearing officer because there's certain educational, professional requirements that would need to be met. For example, the hearing officer has to be, it's one of three things, a real estate appraisal, experience in property hearing valuations, arbitration, and that they must attend valuation review classes provided by the Arizona State Board of Equalization. So there's an amount of training that goes in there, and the Arizona State Board of Equalization provides that training and then certifies, lack of a better word, these individuals are qualified to go ahead and hear these cases.
Okay. Does that end? Yeah, go ahead.
It does, pretty much, but and I think this would be maybe in the future to direct staff. I want a better understanding of the Board of Equalization. In other words, I guess I want to know is if that person heard a case and says, well, this is way overvalued, does the hearing officer right then and there have the ability to decrease the value?
Excuse me, I turned myself off there. I believe the answer to that is yes. But John Ellingwood, who's also from the assessor's office, is in the audience, and he's sat through numerous of these.
Okay.
But yes,
But
the hearing officer has the ability to go ahead and make the finding, reduce it, offer a new value, and so forth.
Okay. But I'd still like to do more understanding of that process in the future. That answers my questions for now.
Okay. And then item H.
Yes, so H and K go hand in hand.
Okay.
H is the Arizona Department of Housing, and it's a grant of $200,000, and it's to prevent housing insecurity. And the other one, is a grant for the Arizona Department of Homeland Security. It's for $75,000, and it's going to be for the development services for their training. And looking at those items, the county is not in a role, their role is not to prevent housing insecurity. That's not the job of a county. And we don't want bigger governments. If you look at the problem with these bigger governments, they decide what is good and what is bad according to their own eyes. And so they make up these nice programs. For example, Brent Billingsley, he was addressing the BOA, and he said, we do a number of things to try and help people along the way. We do cleanups. Oftentimes, we have bad cases. We will do what's called clean and lean. So folks that won't come into compliance, that can't come into compliance, we have a separate program. Or we actually use county funds, which is taxpayers' money, to do a cleanup, to demolish their buildings, and then we put a lien on the property for the costs spent by the county. And so when you leave it up to the county, now you let them determine what is good and what is bad. And that is not their role. We don't need them to determine whose house should we pay the rent on. That is not the role of our government. We don't need bigger governments. The state can't even determine what a boy and what a girl is in the school system. So this is ridiculous.
Okay, thank you.
And then on the second one, on K, it says there's a memorandum of understanding. So the state will train these people, and then they have their memorandum of understanding. Do we see that? Is that public? No, we can't even see that information. So why would we blindly agree to a $75,000 grant not knowing what's involved in it?
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And the last item is AA. And this involves the highway safety accident investigation. They would like more funds to support overtime costs to investigate facilities and serious injuries and collisions, and that is all good. I agree with that. But then it says, and for the purchase of a drone. Douglas Wolf and his department, they take their drones and they fly them over my ranch. They take photos of my ranch. They take photos of my livestock, and they present them to hearing officers at the BOE. And this is an invasion of privacy. This is not what our drones should be used for. And so I think we should have a stipulation. Remove the drone. The county does not need a drone. And that is my recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I would just say on that, the drone, if this is traffic accidents, is just a drone to fly overhead to survey the area of the traffic accident? Is that what this is about? I'd have to ask the sheriff about that.
Yeah. Would you care to come and speak to that? Sheriff Lamb, and then stick around because we still need to go back and pass something or turn it down.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Supervisors, apologize for your time. As far as the drone, we only use the drone for reconstructing crime scenes or traffic. If you have a major traffic accident, we would use the drones for that. We're very cognizant of the Fourth Amendment and our inability to just fly over somebody's property in that particular case. Barring a search warrant, I would guess that would not be something we would do. But we do use it for the traffic and for crime scene reconstruction investigation.
Okay. We have do we share drones within our departments or not? Can anybody answer that?
Mr. Ellenwood is raising his hand.
Chairman, supervisors, we don't. Unless we're requested by one of the other agencies, we would come out and use the equipment to assist them, maybe with the county attorney's office, but I don't know that that's a common practice for us.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Sheriff. Supervisor Miller, did you have?
Well, I made a mistake. I didn't want to pull H, I wanted to pull I. So I'll make these comments and just think of them towards, well, actually, and I don't have a problem pulling H either, because I do believe that this is opportunity that we have a community in Randolph that has had little or no attention that I think has been justified in the future. Really, the reason I wanted to pull it off is to thank Heather Patel and the Public Works Department for all the help that they've done for Randolph. And in the item I, it talks about the water lines and stuff. If you went out there to see what has taken place in the last 180 days even, it has really been miraculous. And it's all because of the people that work here and their ability to work together and get a project taken care of. Those folks have been paying taxes just like everybody else. Whether it's a lot of money, what amount of taxes they've paid, but they've paid for decades, and they've received virtually no benefit from their taxes being paid to Pinal County, and it's a time to give them a little bit of attention, and that was my justification for pulling that item and mentioning it. And so my thanks is to everybody, and I would make a motion to approve H.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Let's go back to item F. I've neglected to ask for a motion moving forward.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we set this out for decision to our next regularly scheduled meeting. I think there are problems here where we could have heard as a board 6 or 8 of these a year, and I think we would be more fair than the process that's happening. So I'd like a discussion. We'll have time to do some research and as to how many of these cases have gone to the Board of Equalization, and decide whether we want to bring it back to the board for decisions or if we want to hire our own person to hear these things. So my motion is to set for a date certain. What is the correct language, Natasha?
It would be to continue, and the next board meeting is going to be March the 6th.
Continue to March the 6th. That would be my motion.
So
I have more of a question, Mr.
Okay.
We're still in discussion.
We still have a motion on the table, but yeah, go ahead.
My question and I believe Natasha may be able to answer this, how many cases will be heard by the Board of Equalization? Approximate. I know in the past it's a pretty large number.
Last year, I want to say an estimate was maybe about 20.
Okay. It's not as many as I thought, because one year I know we had like 135.
Yeah.
Yes, that's been several years ago, around 2018, 2019, when we had that many.
Okay.
Supervisor McClure, did you have a question or a comment?
Question. So if we were to hear those, we'd have to be trained in appraisal and in valuation, or, well, that's the same thing. What's the other?
It says must have experience in at least one of the following areas: real estate appraisal or sales, hearing property valuation appeals at the county or state level, arbitration. And then it says, each additional hearing officer, including the Board of Supervisors, shall attend annually valuation review classes provided by the State Board of Equalization. And just one further comment, to Supervisor Miller, and maybe Mr. Ellingwood or Natasha can answer this a little bit better, but I believe there's also some certain time frames that these hearings need to be held in. So you asked for the number, and approximately 20 is what she heard, but those take place over a course of a week. Is that correct, Natasha?
So depending on the type of petition that we receive, normally we start getting petitions around September. Well, no, our hearings start in September. And so based upon those particular petitions that we get, also this year we did receive a value which can be presented at any time during the actual year as well. So it is certain months based upon the actual petition, but that is based upon when the assessor's office send the actual notices out as well.
I have another question.
Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And as I understand it, when we use this agency, though, they handle the mailings for us and the notifications. If we don't use them, then that falls upon our staff to make sure we get all these out.
So they handle pretty much everything as it relates to the hearings. We schedule the hearing room for them. We actually accept the actual petitions, but we forward all of that information over to the state, and they oversee the entire process, and we work with them to schedule the hearings based upon the availability of the hearing room.
Okay.
Yeah, and all of that process is time sensitive, if I remember. I mean, once we're notified, we have certain days to get that all scheduled and everything. And I just don't know that we have the staff that does that either.
And there are drop-dead dates by which it has to be done, and those are November and October, I think?
That is correct, based upon the type of petition that we receive.
Okay.
I guess, if I may, real quick, I know we have a motion on the floor.
But real quick.
But there's a lot more to this than just, I think, than on the surface. I mean, we've handed off this process to this agency in the past, simply because of the I don't like using this word, the bandwidth that it takes to process it. When there's 135 claims, appeals, we're not going to sit here and do 135. We couldn't get them done. If it was just 20 every year, I think that would be a different story. But is this IGA time sensitive today? I mean, in other words, if it was to be moved to the 4th, I think that was the date she used. Whatever, the 6th. Are we still okay?
Chairman, Supervisor Miller, the current contract that we have with the state, it expires on February the 27th. Normally, this contract is brought to the board every February.
Okay. And we don't want it to lapse. Read your body language.
As clerk of the board, I would have to say there is some concerns if we receive a petition during that time frame.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
The fundamental issue is they do the work of notifying and things, but the fundamental issue is I don't think the citizens of Pinal County are getting a fair assessment and a fair judgment in their cases. So that's the problem I'm trying to solve.
Yeah, but you consider, for me, when you consider all the requirements that are of us as a board to get educated and become educated, is pretty in depth, and so that's one of the reasons why we made the decision to go to the appeals through the process that we made a few years ago. We did that. And so, Supervisor, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I just hit my mic by accident.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table right now. Do we have a second? John, did you want to say something before we actually vote on this then? Yeah, come on up.
And Chairman, if I may, while John is coming up, just to clarify, Supervisor Miller, your question about how many did we hear in 2023, I just looked at the log from 2023, and we actually had 57 cases.
Ooh. Okay. Go ahead, John.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say we're pretty neutral on this, and we should be because the board's supposed to review our work, but we do lose some cases. We are overturned sometimes by the Board of Equalization. Another thing is that their solution is a turnkey. It's a total solution of notifying us, notifying the taxpayer. And we do get them different times of the year. They can appeal their February notice. They can appeal their September notice of change. They can appeal their personal property notice. So these would come up during different times of year. And they can be 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour apiece.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just for the record, state your name and...
Oh, John Ellenwood, Chief Deputy Assessor.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I withdraw my motion. It's not practical, I don't think.
Okay. All right, so moving forward,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to pass item F as presented.
Okay.
Second.
We have a second and a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
And so the ayes have it. Okay, and we've done H, right? Okay, item to K. We've already heard from Mr. Parnell? Am I pronouncing that right? Oh, I'm close. Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on K? With that being said, do we have a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to pass item K as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, AA. We've had a discussion about that, and so any other further discussion in regards to AA?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve AA as presented.
We have a motion, a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. So now we're on to item AC. Mr. Revelis.
Roberto Revelis, resident of Gold Canyon, regarding item AC, asking for an additional $180,856 in funding for the sheriff's office. I support that. However, I feel obligated as a resident of Sleepy Hollow Trail to point out that the entire area of Gold Canyon is experiencing an unusual amount of overcapacity of some of our streets, Sleepy Hollow Trail being one of them. The other one is speeding beyond the speed limit. That's endangering other drivers, walkers, bicyclists, and homeowners along those roadways. Our supervisor has done a very effective job of listening to our concerns and proposing solutions. However, the one solution is not being brought to bear, which is enforce the speed limits in our community. That cannot be done by our supervisor. That can only be done by the sheriff's office. So I support this additional funding, but I urge that they use it in the areas that are endangering lives. So with that said, I'm hoping that the sheriff's department will receive the funding and will use it to reduce the hazardous conditions we're living in Gold Canyon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Revelis. Okay, any discussion? Yes,
I have a kind of a question.
Sheriff Lamb, and then
Sheriff
we've
Lamb
got
might be
another
able to answer
question.
it. If I could ask a question.
You bet.
Sheriff Mark Lamb, Mr. Chairman, Supervisors, I want to echo what I appreciate the support from Mr. Revelis on the money. Obviously, this is for addressing these types of issues. I have about 5 or 6 motor officers. I have a couple deputies in that area, and those motor officers are tasked with really trying to reduce accidents and speed throughout in a county the size of the state of Connecticut. We also have Santan Valley, which happens to have approximately 130,000 people. We really work hard to push into the areas where we're experiencing the most accidents, fatalities, while trying not to ignore other areas. And I will absolutely relay the information on that Mr. Revelis has provided for additional traffic enforcement up in there in that area. And just to reiterate, this is the type of funding that we use for those types of traffic issues in those areas. So we will commit to getting more resources there. However, our guys are doing a tremendous job of trying to get to all the different areas throughout the county where we are experiencing increased traffic.
Okay, Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just real quick, do you think the increased traffic, because it sounds like the volume of traffic has gotten more intense in the residential areas, are they using it as a bypass? Are they using it to access the hiking trails? Has anybody figured out what is increased the activity in that area for?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, we're currently having the Renaissance Festival. So anytime the Renaissance Festival is in play, it always increases the traffic in Gold Canyon, Apache Junction. And so that would probably be one of the factors at play here. Not to mention, we're seeing an increase in houses going up in Peralta. We're seeing more and more growth, more and more houses all up in that area. So we're seeing more traffic, and people will always look for an easier outlet to bypass whatever traffic they may be experiencing, and Sleepy Hollow is one of those roads.
I'm guilty of that.
Speaking of,
yes.
Speaking of Peralta, there was actually a head-on collision on Peralta, which is a dirt road, soon to be paved. People really don't want traffic circles or speed bumps. They just want enforcement. And you just laid out that we're understaffed. So we need, and I don't know if you were listening at the time, but we're going to have a task force on different law enforcement agencies, including state land, which I guess at one time state land used to reimburse, but they don't anymore. If they could, then that would alleviate some of your funding and possibly retain and put on more officers and more units. So please keep all of those avenues open. And I would also like, and I think somebody's going to be getting us a report on how did that head-on collision actually happen on Peralta.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Surdy, I don't know the details of that, or I'd give you those now, but I can certainly look into it. And as far as the AC, the money that we're requesting is money that allows us to pay for overtime for guys that don't. So it gives us more bodies, guys that can come in and dedicate that whole entire shift to traffic enforcement. So the monies that we get from the Governor's Office of Highway Safety are extremely valuable and important for us being able to spread our wings a little bit throughout the county as for STEP program, which is selective traffic enforcement program.
Okay. Thank you. Any other? Okay. Do we have a motion moving forward then?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve item AC as presented.
Second.
We've got a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Let's go back to, is Angie still here? Let's go back to the one question we had in regards to Sheriff, if you could It's the purchasing report item.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisors, Supervisor Kavanaugh, I know you had a question. My apologies for not being ready to be available. I drifted 5 minutes away from the building and got caught. First of all, the $1 million and the $500,000 are both stone guarded funding. These are requests to use stone guarding funding for the Huey mandatory maintenance and repair that we have on our helicopters. I think the Huey is due for some pretty quick here for another round of standard maintenance. I don't know the exact hours that we're flying currently, but I will tell you we are available every day. This year alone already we have rescued 31 people on rescue calls, not to mention what we've assisted Border Patrol in. We actually removed a body out of the mountains right along the border just last week, a female that had fallen or died along the trail. So we're using this. We're available at times for 24 hours a day. So the helicopter is being used a ton, and we're grateful to have the assistance of the funding of the federal government through the Stone Garden grant. So the monies that we're using here would not be budgeted items. They would be monies that are being, I guess it's $100,000 and $500,000, are monies that would be allocated through Stone Garden.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, just real quickly, I remember there was a heavy maintenance program that was done, but the helicopter was flown to Florida and flown back, putting hours on the equipment. Will that happen again, or is standard aero local?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, I believe that anytime we have a long one, we've trucked it. We actually trucked it to Canada when we had to go there. I think we have made some of those flights along the way to Florida, but where we can, we try to take it and put it on a truck. The problem with putting it on a truck is we have to take the propellers off. There's a lot more to it than just flying it to the location. But those are few and far between. I don't remember the last time we went to Florida. The last time we had it done, I think it was trucked all the way to the location. It was repaired, and then we did fly it back. And part of that flight is to make sure that everything is in good working order.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. The purchasing report. Do we have a motion moving forward then?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the purchasing order as presented.
We have
the report.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, now we're going to recess our regular scheduled Board of Supervisors meeting and open up our Pinal County Public Service District Board of Directors. So we have consent items, and so I just read this. All items indicated by an asterisk will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a board member, county manager, or a member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. So any board members want to call any of these three? County manager? Anybody from the public? Okay. Seeing that there's none, do we have a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve items A, B, and C as presented.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. We now close the Pinal County Public Health Service District and reconvene our regular scheduled items. The Board of Supervisors meeting, and so item number, I think we're on 11, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is a public hearing. This is in regards to discussion, approval, disapproval of ordinance number 2024. Let's see, is Lorraine here?
Yes,
Hi.
Hi, Mr. Chair, members. My name is Lorraine Mason, and before I present this, I do want to thank Michelle Beck. She spoke earlier as you were opening this meeting on a project in the Maricopa area, although that project is not on this agenda and not currently agendized. Staff is in touch and
I'm
contacting
glad
her.
you said, because I got confused there for a minute, which is not easy to do. Somebody in the audience knows me real well, so.
All right, hi. Lorraine Mason, Development Services. Here to discuss PZPD 015-23. This is a request for a major pad amendment. The parcel, subject parcel is 12.9 acres, and this is located west of North Attaway Road along the State Route 287. The owner is Lance Keeter, and the agent applicant is Charles Wright with Pinal Design Group, LLC. This is the county map showing the general vicinity of the area and a vicinity map. You can see the jurisdiction of Coolidge is in brown and south of this project. And this is the project map. The red boundary line you see is what staff reached out to for the mailers notifications on the project. And here's an aerial map of the area. Again, you can see Coolidge. It's a very close neighbor. This is a site plan just to show you. You might recall this project came for your review 2 years ago. This is a major pad amendment to expand this project, add another row.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Did you say add another row?
Yes. The property owner felt that this was I think the original project was 4 rows that were going north-south. That this is sort of reconfigured project, which triggered this major pad amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm going to... And here's the public notice. Staff arrived on site on January 18th for this meeting today. This is the view of the north and south across the 287. This is east coming from Florence and west toward Coolidge. The subject property was rezoned from MHP to C3 PAD under cases PZ 00220 and PZPD 00320. This amendment pad is to increase RV spaces and self-storage spaces totaling 306 spaces and 44,129 square feet of storage space. The comprehensive plan supports commercial uses up to 25 acres in any designation, and this property has legal access. We did receive one phone call in support from the manufactured home park just to the east. And staff recommends approval with 13 stipulations.
Is that it?
Mr. Chair, board members, do you have any questions for me?
Anybody? Okay, this is the applicant here? Do they wish to speak? Okay. So let's, this is a public hearing as well, so does anybody from the public want to come and speak? All right, seeing that there's none, we'll close the public hearing. Oh, Brent, were you getting up to speak? No, I'm kidding. What we'll do is, so having a motion, any discussion, further discussion from the board members? Okay, item number 11, what's our motion moving forward?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item 11 as presented.
You have a second?
Need 13 stipulations.
Oh, you need to stipulate.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item number 11 with 13 stipulations.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. Done.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 12. Again, another public hearing, and this is discussion, approval, disapproval of an ordinance number 2024 PZ 04423. So we have Lorraine or Brett. Oh, you're going to be doing this one too. Okay, cool.
Chairman Goodman, board members, Larry Mason, Development Services. This is item PZ 04423. This is a proposal for a rezone from Suburban Ranch to RU1-2 or 1.25. The parcel size is 6.59 acres, and the location is west of North Gansel Road and south of West Red Fern Road, and the owner is, and as well as applicant, is James Scott. Pardon me, I'm kind of bouncing all over here. I'm trying to go forward. Okay, thanks. Here's. Okay. I'll show you the county map forward. This is perfect. Thank you. This is the location of the county. This is in the Santan Valley area. And here's the vicinity map. So I'll show you the grid and area. You can see in brown, just south of this red. I don't know if you can see it very well on your screens. This is the city of Queen Creek jurisdiction. So this is a close neighbor. There's a school there. Here's the 600-foot boundary map. Staff reached out to adjoining neighbors. And the case map. Again, you can see the Queen Creek jurisdiction just south.
We don't care about that. It's the county one.
An aerial map. You can see, farmland area.
I'll tell you what.
This is the site plan the applicant provided. You can see they seek here to finalize entitlement to rezone this to higher density. Overall, they'll wish to divide this property. This is the notice for this meeting. You can see west onto the site. This is north, looking from the site. South, you can see the school there. I think that's American Leadership Academy, if I recall right. And east on the neighbor's horse property. And this is west, the parcel for the project rezone. This was rezoned from GR to SR in 1973 under case PZ 403-73. Santan Valley Area Plan designates the property rural living and supports the rezone request. There is an existing 30-foot irrigation roadway and public utility easement. Staff received 0 letters or calls for opposition. And staff recommends approval with 6 stipulations. That concludes my presentation. Mr. Chair, board members, do you have any questions for me?
Anybody? Seeing that there's none, we also have the applicant's here, I know. Does he wish to speak? He's a man of many words. I do know that. Okay. So this is a public hearing. Is there anybody present that would like to come and speak from the public? Seeing that there's none, we'll close the public hearing. And so any motion moving forward? Motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve item number 12 as presented with 6 stipulations.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
You have a second over here.
We have a second over here. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. He's not going to be a bad neighbor, to be honest with you, so I'm good with it.
Thanks very much.
Okay, item number 13. We have a motion. They're wanting to withdraw this. They'll bring it back, but because there's go ahead. I'll be quiet, Celeste. You go ahead.
Chairman, members of the board, Celeste Gardner with the Development Services Department. Yes, we need to make some revisions to item 13. So if you would, our recommendation would be to take action and withdraw 13, if you would, please, for us. And we'll bring it back to you.
Okay, perfect. But before we do that, before we make any motions moving forward, we do have one card in regards to this. This is a public hearing, so I have Sandra Kiesling. Is she present? Yeah, why don't you come on up? And I see that you're good with it, but this is a public hearing. Now's your chance to be heard.
My name is Sandra Kiesling. I reside at 4642 East Greasewood Street, and I do approve the abandonment of the roads. The road actually dead ends into a wash, and so therefore it can't be utilized. To my knowledge, the county has never maintained the road in any way. A builder recently kitty-cornered to the property, put in some housing, and did do some road improvements. So there's a great spot there for trucks to back up, like garbage trucks, because that's been kind of a concern before with some residents. But there is a T intersection there where garbage trucks can back up easily and vacate the street, because, like I said, it does dead end. But I would love to see that road abandoned.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak from the public? Okay. So I'll close the public hearing, and then we'll move forward. Any motion moving forward would be appreciated. I think the correct motion would be motion to withdraw, correct?
That is
Natasha?
correct, Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to withdraw.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Item number 14 is any discussion for future board meetings. Anybody have anything that they'd like to see add to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Miller.
I think that I would like to discuss the Board of Equalization, maybe the process in a little more detail. I do know there has been incidences where the county assessor was not happy with the Board of Equalization, because I got approached about that myself before. Maybe if we can kind of see a pattern, I don't know if you can put a chart together that I believe it's a pretty fair case, but there's a lot of work that goes into that, and I think we need to educate the public on all the detail that takes place. And if we were to do it in-house, one, all of us would have to be trained, and two, I believe Natasha would have to add staff. I think that's, from what I remember back in the days with Sherry Clough, and when we kind of really started using the Board of Equalization. So maybe we can have a study session on that at some point in the near future.
Good one. Anybody else? We're good? Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. We have one last item, which is the executive session, and I know we're on a tight time frame. I do believe that we can probably knock that out in 10 minutes if you want to try to take that, and so you don't have to come back for the meeting after your...
I like it.
I'm game.
Okay.
Let's go do it. And so can I get a motion to go in executive session?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We are now in executive session. Lovely.
Did we vote on that?
Oh, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're good. We're in. He's right.
I move we come out of executive session.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're good. And we are adjourned.